On the evening of May 3rd, 2007, 3-year-old Madeleine McCann was put to bed in a holiday apartment in Praia da Luz, a quiet resort town in Portugal. Her parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, kissed her goodnight, tucked her in beside her 2-year-old twin siblings, and left the apartment shortly before 8:30 p.m. They were not far away, just across the resort at a tapas restaurant, dining with friends. The plan was simple. Every 20 to 30 minutes, one of the adults would walk back to the apartment to check on the children. It was a routine they believed was safe, a decision that would soon become one of the most scrutinized parenting choices in modern history. At 9:05 p.m., a friend checked the apartment and reported that everything appeared normal. Madeleine was asleep. The twins were fine. The door was closed, just as it had been left. Around 10 p.m., Kate McCann stood up from the table and walked back alone to check on the children. When she entered the bedroom, something felt wrong immediately. Madeleine's bed was empty. The window was open. The shutter was raised. Madeleine McCann was gone. What followed next was chaos. Kate ran back to the restaurant screaming that her daughter had been taken. Resort staff, guests, and local residents began searching in every direction. Police were called. The area was combed, but the hours passed and Madeleine did not return. By morning, the search had expanded, but the trail was already growing cold. From the beginning, the case was filled with unsettling details. There were no signs of forced entry. No confirmed witnesses who saw Madeleine leave the apartment. No clear timeline of when she disappeared. And despite the open window, investigators could not immediately determine whether it had been opened by an intruder or left that way earlier. The McCanns were cooperative, but as the days passed, questions began to multiply. Portuguese police initially treated the case as an abduction. Sniffer dogs were brought in. Roads were searched. Borders were monitored. The story exploded across international media, turning Madeleine McCann into one of the most recognizable missing children in the world. Posters with her image spread across Europe and beyond. Donations poured into a fund set up by her parents. World leaders mentioned her name. Celebrities pleaded for her return. But behind the scenes, the investigation was struggling. Witness statements conflicted. Timelines shifted. Some guests reported seeing a man carrying a child near the resort that night, but descriptions varied. One witness claimed to have seen a man carrying a child who resembled Madeleine, but the sighting could never be conclusively verified. Another reported seeing a man acting suspiciously near the apartment days earlier. Each lead raised hope, only to end in frustration. Then the case took a dramatic turn. In September 2007, just 4 months after Madeleine vanished, Portuguese police named Kate and Jerry McCann as formal suspects. The announcement shocked the world. Media coverage intensified. Headlines shifted from sympathy to suspicion. Every word the parents had spoken was dissected, their body language analyzed, their decisions questioned. The public was divided. Some believed the McCanns were victims of an unimaginable crime. Others began to suspect that something had gone terribly wrong inside the apartment. The theory suggested by investigators was that Madeleine had died accidentally and that her parents had covered it up. Cadaver dogs reportedly detected the scent of human remains in the apartment and in the McCann's rental car, which they had used weeks after the disappearance. But no physical evidence was ever found to support these claims. No body, no forensic proof, no clear cause of death. And eventually, the McCanns were cleared of suspect status. Still, the damage had been done. The case stalled. Portuguese authorities faced criticism for delays, missteps, and poor communication. In 2008, the investigation was officially closed due to lack of evidence. But Madeleine was still missing. Years passed. Sightings were reported across Europe, North Africa, and even South America. Each one sparked renewed hope, followed by disappointment. DNA tests came back negative. Leads collapsed. Madeleine McCann remained a mystery. In 2011, British authorities reopened the case under a review known as Operation Grange. Detectives re-examined evidence, interviewed witnesses, and built new timelines. They identified several potential suspects and confirmed that they believed Madeleine had been abducted by a stranger. The case regained momentum, But once again, answers prove elusive. Then, in 2020, more than a decade after Madeleine disappeared, a new name emerged. German authorities announced that they were investigating a convicted sex offender named Christian Bruckner as a suspect in Madeleine's disappearance. He had lived in the Algarve region at the time. He had a history of violent crimes against children. His phone records placed him near Praia da Luz on the night Madeleine vanished. A phone call linked to him occurred close to the resort shortly before the estimated time of the abduction. For the first time in years, officials stated publicly that they believed Madeleine McCann was dead. The announcement reignited global attention. Media outlets revisited the case. Old footage resurfaced. New theories emerged. But once again, the investigation hit familiar obstacles. Despite the circumstantial evidence, German authorities have not charged Bruckner in connection with Madeleine's disappearance. No body has been found. No confession has been made. The case remains legally unresolved. And so the questions remain. How did someone enter the apartment without waking the twins? Why were there no definitive witnesses? Was Madeleine targeted, or was the crime a matter of opportunity? Did crucial evidence slip through investigators' hands in the first critical hours? And after all these years, is the truth still out there, or lost forever? More than anything, the disappearance of Madeleine McCann forces us to confront the most terrifying possibility of all, that a child can vanish in a moment, in a place that felt safe, surrounded by adults who believed they were doing the right thing. Nearly 2 decades later, Madeleine would be a young woman. Her parents continue to search. Investigators continue to review evidence. And the world continues to ask the same haunting question first whispered that night in Praia da Luz. What really happened to Madeleine McCann? If you have a theory about this case, share it in the comments. And if you want to explore more cases that remain unresolved, subscribe to Unsolved Case Files, because some cases are still open. See you in our next episode.